Welcome to the Survivor Fans Podcast. I'm Joanne.
And I'm Stacy. We're here with Lucy from Survivor Millennials versus Generation X.
Hi.
Hi, Lucy. Thanks for speaking with us today.
Absolutely.
How were you chosen to be on Survivor?
I had applied about 3 years ago. I was actually first called in for Blood versus Water with my husband. I didn't get in that year, but then the next year we tried again, and then finally third year is a charm, and Jess got me in.
So were you a fan of the show?
I mean, I watched it here and there. I didn't watch that much TV because I do have, my family that I take care of in the business, but I definitely, am a fan of the show.
What did you do to prepare once you found you were going to be on?
Prepare? I didn't do much to prepare because I felt like that's what my life was all about, is basically, having to deal with a lot of different, personalities, like social groups. As far as, me as a competitor, I'm dealing with a lot of young, athletes all the time. Also at work, I have like about 200 different personalities that I have to manage, and my directors as well, dealing from like administration, like the corporate level, to, employees that are just entry level. Also, how I have my family. I have 4 children, all the different personalities, and a husband. So I felt like I was pretty, good with that part of like relationships, being adaptable. And as far as like my physical ability, I'm also a pro bodybuilding athlete, so I felt like I had that in my pocket as well.
How did you leverage your knowledge as a dietitian going into this starvation challenge?
Yeah, for me, like as a dietitian, I knew what would have, what I could eat to sustain myself. Also, the fact that because of a competitor, we're very used to being depleted a lot. So my body definitely is able to perform at a certain level with a little bit of nutrients. But the good thing about being on the island was the fact that there was coconuts, and coconuts definitely have a lot of fat, and that equals energy. And so I basically I even ate more than I normally do on a normal basis.
So describe what it was like for you competing in that reward challenge.
That reward challenge was absolutely grueling. I mean, I was completely proud of the outcome of it. I tried to hold back Hannah and Michaela and try to use my strength to the best of my ability. But the swimming, I'm not very tall, so I wasn't able to get a grip on the sand at all. So a lot of it was just me having to tread water and swim, and it was very taxing. It wasn't I don't know if it looked easy or not, but there was a lot of wind that day, and the currents were going a certain way, so it was really going against everything for us to get to our goal that we needed to hit.
How did your tribe decide who would be paired together?
We just kind of saw the stronger female, like Cece was stronger, so I think Cece was with Sunday. We were looking at strength and height, and then me and Jessica, because basically they were looking at, my physical abilities and Jessica, so we felt like that was a good pairing.
Why was Jessica holding your wrist at the end of that round where Michaela was pulling both of you in for the score?
I have no idea. I think that at that point you're just holding on for life. I think everybody's tired and exhausted, and you're just trying to hold on to stay above waters at that time.
Were there any rounds that we didn't get to see?
We went twice. And I went twice, and there was a part where I was trying to get a hold of Michaela's legs, from the bottom, but she just kept kicking, and that girl was feisty, and I did not want my face to get kicked in, and we went at it.
We saw a bandage on Chris's arm. Did anyone get hurt during that challenge?
I think Chris had, they all got scrapes and scratches, and I think the guys did, like Jay and Taylor, I think, did with Chris, because Chris is really strong. So I think that they did get some marks on their bodies.
So how long does it take for you to travel to the challenges and to tribal council from your camp?
It takes, I would say, at least 30, 45 minutes, probably.
Wow.
Paul told us you took on the role of cook for your tribe. How did you prepare the food from that challenge and the other meals?
Oh my gosh, we got all the awesome seasonings that day. So we had a bunch of steaks and sausages. So we basically just grilled all the steaks and the sausages. Everybody ate it all at once. Ken was like, why don't we save some for tomorrow? And everybody's like, oh, heck no. We're going to eat it all today. And everybody took their piece. Nobody wanted to share. And but it was great, having all the vegetables. And we didn't eat it all at once either, all the vegetables. We were able to save it and ration it out for the rest of the week as well. So it was definitely something that was winning that challenge was definitely upbringing and brought us closer together again, especially after voting out Paul, where Chris and Brett felt that they were betrayed, it kind of brought us back together.
Did everyone manage taking in that huge amount of food okay?
Everybody managed. Everybody took it in, yeah.
So how did your tribe decide who would be on the puzzle in the immunity challenge?
The puzzles, we already had talked about who would be good at puzzles, and obviously Dave is good at puzzles, and Sunday was good at puzzles. And so we had decided that way, and most of the puzzles were going to be done by Sunday and Dave. I'm definitely, that's not my strong suit is puzzles. I'm more of like that physical person.
Why did you decide to lift Big Chris in the chair instead of a smaller person?
Because we knew that Chris was going to be able to go through the obstacles quicker. So the obstacle course part where you saw the other side, how they were slower because they used the lighter people.
You said you had wanted to target Paul from day one. Why?
Only because he was the controlling one. You know, I felt like with Paul around, I was afraid to, like, speak my mind. I was just going to, with Paul, since his personality was so strong, that I would be the one just kind of going with the flow all the time and not being able to speak my mind.
Why did you decide to target Jessica and flip on the Moms Alliance?
Because she was planting insecurities in my brain, and I just felt like she was trying to do that strategically to make females like me and Sunday feel insecure about ourselves, and that we would have to latch on to Jessica for us to be powerful, and so basically she would become the leader of the girls.
Did you tell her to vote for Cece?
Jessica, well, that was the plan from the beginning. We had, the 6 Strong had a plan, and it would have been her. Cece was always in that plan.
How did you feel when Ken said you were bossy and he was angry about how you talked to him?
I think I wasn't trying to be that way with him, and I don't think that he understood that I'm a matter-of-fact person. I was just trying to give him the information because they told me, hey, Lucy, give us the information on who everybody's voting for. So that's what I was simply doing, was saying, hey, this is what the majority is voting for. Let's go that route. The fact that I said don't talk to anybody is because I didn't want any more chaos to happen. I thought it was about hey, let's make it to the swap. Let's do this. And this is who we're voting for. It didn't matter how we got there. Let's just get there. And with him, I think that he thought that I was trying to be a dictator, and I wasn't. I was just trying to say, hey, this is the factual information. Let's go on with this. I'm a type of person that doesn't put all that emotions into things. It's like, okay, what do we need to get done? What do I need to know? And that's about it.
Did you know before Tribal Council that he was going to vote Jessica with the rest of you?
No, I didn't, because he's the one that had told Cece and Dave to vote for me, so I had no idea. I just thought that, those 3 is going to vote. If those 3... Well, actually, I didn't even know Cece had changed, but I knew that she was kind of questioning it. And so even with those 3 voting for me, I still thought that we had the majority with Jessica, not knowing that I was going to be targeted by Dave with the immunity idol.
Why do you think David used his idol for Jessica?
I don't know. I think everybody's asking, why did he do that? I think that if it was later on in the game, that would have been the smart move. But, in that beginning, it didn't really matter how you got to the swap because the dynamics of the groups are going to change soon, right? There was no reason to try to keep the underdog numbers growing if it was going to be swapped soon.
Was there anything else discussed at Tribal Council that we didn't get to see?
No, I mean, me and Ken, we had a discussion prior to going to Tribal Council. I apologized to him for my mannerism of how I spoke to him, and I think with that, he realized after going into Tribal and the fact that actually Jessica betrayed him, that he probably realized at that point that I was probably more loyal than Jessica was, and that's probably why he changed the vote back to voting for Jessica. But unfortunately, the message couldn't be communicated to Dave fast enough. But I don't know if Dave would have still done that. But I know that I think Dave's mentality was the fact that he wanted to keep the underdog's numbers stronger. And so with saving Jessica now would have flipped to his side. But again, it doesn't make sense because the swap was set, hopefully,
Yeah.
So did you have any injuries or health issues while you were out there?
No, I mean, just doing the challenges, we had, scrapes and stuff on my legs. But, nothing horrible happened to me. I know some of the other girls had eye infections and stuff, but I was able to kind of get through healthy as I could. Besides the cyclone, which almost I thought I was going to die. But
we didn't get to see a whole lot of you prior to that last episode. How did you feel about your overall edit?
At the end of the day, I was scared to see what was going to happen yesterday because I felt like maybe making me seem all quiet, and then suddenly, I come out of nowhere and attack, basically. And I don't know if that's the way it came out in the public view, but, I was happy with the way they showed me, and it's kind of the way that I normally am, is more of an introvert, trying to assess my surroundings, and then I start getting my real self out and being able to be who I truly am. And because I needed to make smart moves, I needed to see what was happening first. I needed to kind of have a good gauge on what was the dynamics of the different groups.
Was there anything you wish had been shown about you on the show that didn't make it on air?
I think just more of my nurturing side of how I was cooking and how I worked with them, to build the shelters, and maybe some more of the whole how we built the alliances, things like that, because I think that it went from basically Quiet Lucy, what is she doing, right, to oh, well, how is she able to make this happen, which I think was great too, right, because you guys saw me as, wow, she's quiet, and then what, how does she get everybody to vote for Jessica, right?
Yeah.
Kind of is it mind-boggling also for you guys, is that something that you guys would have liked to have seen,
It made it interesting.
Yeah, it was certainly a surprise to see you pull that together when you had been invisible prior to that.
Yeah, so I think it was, absolutely a good edit for them, right? Because it was kind of jaw-breaking, shocking, and what?
Yeah.
Does this come from? Yeah.
How has your view of yourself and your life changed since being on Survivor?
Actually, I definitely grew a lot from that, from being on the island, and I am definitely more aware of how bossy my tone might come out to how I communicate with people, especially my husband. And I had to realize that when my husband tells me I'm bossy, I kind of don't listen, because I'm yeah, right? But when somebody else that just met me and say, hey, your demeanor is kind of bossy, it's kind of is it really? Oh my gosh, I don't tend to be, my intentions aren't to be like that. And so when I got back, I was able to just be, more aware of speaking to my husband differently, and also my kids. And I was also able to not be as intense of a person as I usually am, because going into the island, I'm everything I do, I'm 110%. Everything I do, there's no, if I'm going to do it, it's okay, if I'm committed to it, I'm going to go 100%. Just like my weightlifting was just for fun. It was just a hobby. And then all of a sudden it became this intense thing where I became a pro athlete. And not everything has to be so intense. And also in my real world, as far as working, I feel I need to control every movement of everything that happens, but going away, things still flow, things still happened, and now coming back, I'm able to kind of relieve myself of, okay, not everything needs my input. I don't need to control every little thing. And so that was a little bit of a relief for me. And also my husband and our relationship is 100 times better, because he was also able to kind of be in my shoes and see what I go through. And instead of calling me a per se, he's thinking, okay, I know why you were so intense all the time, because you have a lot on your plate. And he actually apologized for not helping more and all that stuff. So it was great, actually, for my relationship.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Way to go. What's next for you?
To get on the show again.
Okay.
Well, Lucy, thank you for sharing your thoughts with us today, and good luck to you.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.